Hey there everyone, Paler here, and welcome to episode 1 of New Player's Guide to Warframe. So setting a little bit of the stage here for this one going forward, what should hopefully be a shorter episode. Basically, we want to just get going into Warframe. Warframe is a terrific game. If you're here to watch this video, I'm not here to sell you on it in this. In fact, I probably never will. That's not where I'm very good. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try and help you get your sea legs, as Warframe now is coming around on 8 years old, and unlike some other similar games to this, Destiny comes to mind, it hasn't had big resets, right? It's just been continually building on top of what was made 8 years ago. There have been entire system overhauls and reworks and stuff like that, but there hasn't really been like this content is now the previous version and now we're on to the new version, you don't have to go back to that previous content. No, when you first boot up and log in, you start where you would have started 8 years ago with a few more systems on top of it. As such, while it's not a super complicated game in terms of any one system, when you layer these all together, it is quite complicated. There's a lot of layers there to unpack. There's a lot to learn. I just went through it. I'm now up over 500 hours into Warframe. It's kind of crazy how much of this game I've played. But even with 500 hours, I would say 300 hours in, I still felt like I was discovering a lot. And there's still a few nuances I'm picking up now at the 500 hour mark. So seeing as I went through it relatively recently, I want to put together a video series that I think I can do a good job helping other people overcome that hurdle. Because there's definitely a hurdle somewhere around the 30 to 40 hour mark that is tough. It's tough to really see beyond that and go much deeper. So that's what I'm hoping to do here. That's what you can expect coming from this. So let's go ahead and let's get the very beginning done. So the first choice you're going to have to make, and this one's probably already been made by most people. By the time you're coming to watch this video, you've probably already gone through the intro part. But you got to first choose your Warframe. Now don't worry, no matter which Warframe you've picked, it's perfectly viable. There is a better option, there's two better options here, but no matter what, the frame that you have is good enough to get going, good enough to start farming some other frames, because there are ones that are earnable very early on that will carry you through to a later game, and even beyond that, the base frames will all do up to about level 50 content without much of a problem. However, Mag is definitely the weaker choice out of the three options. She's just currently not very well balanced within the larger scheme of Warframe. So that leaves Excalibur and Volt. For this part of the footage, I'm picking Volt here, and I'll explain why. Excalibur is actually arguably the stronger frame of the two. Excalibur, especially once you get the right mods into him, he is very, very powerful throughout the entire game, and is a late game high pick priority frame for a lot of people. The reason I went for Volt though is through playing the story, there's an upgraded version of Excalibur you're going to get. It's just part of the storyline. As you finish up the storyline, they just gift you this improved version of Excalibur for you to play with. So for that reason, I'm going to go ahead and take Volt, and Volt is perfectly fine for this. Volt also has some unique abilities that make him good for some missions. That's why I'm going with that. If you went Mag, Excalibur, whatever, doesn't matter. But that is the one I'm sort of recommending if you haven't made this decision yet. From there now, you're going to be embarking on a 5-mission story quest line sort of thing. Just go ahead and follow it through to completion. The way this is going to work, you're going to play through, and the initial mission has some tutorials built into it. It's not the best, but it's perfectly doable. They're going to have you pick up some weapons. They're going to have you go ahead, use the primary, use the secondary, get the melee weapon out, deflect with the melee weapon, attack with the melee weapon, use a little bit of stealth, use a little bit of movement, these types of things. They're all in there. And It's fairly simplistic, straightforward. You get through the first mission in about 10 minutes, which is going to take you then to your landing craft. And the landing craft is sort of your little social hub, at least one of them. This is your private one where you can, where you're going to be selecting other missions. You can access the marketplace. We'll talk about that here in a moment. You can access the armory, at least you will be able to relatively soon. You can access the crafting station, the mod system, and a few other little odds and ends. But when you first get there, nothing's really active. You follow the story, it'll explain why. It's going to send you on mission 2, which is going to get you parts that will access, bring part of your landing craft back online. Then a third mission, fourth mission, and then I think around the fifth mission, you basically finish up that initial storyline. And when you're doing this, you're going to be looking at sort of a map overview of Earth. And it's somewhat linear, but with a few branching paths that loop back around and everything. Well, what you want to do is focus on the story missions, get through those first few, as they're going to, like I said, unlock parts of your landing craft that you need for crafting things. At which point then, you want to just start doing as many, if not all of the missions that you can as you come across them. There are several reasons for this, but it's going to basically unlock the ability to drop collectors. So these are resource collectors, and basically every 8 hours you can drop them on a planet, but only planets that have been 100% completed. So it's a good idea to do every mission as you go along. Then you want to look, and on the points of each planet, there's junctions. Some planets have 2, most only have 1, but these junctions are used to bridge the gap from your current planet to the next planet. And these junctions are going to have certain requirements as they go. Early on, the requirements are very straightforward. It's basically complete the first part of the story, complete this one map on the level, maybe craft these few items. But you want to just keep an eye on what those are, work towards that junction so you can jump to the next planet. Your main focus is just jumping planet to planet, unlocking more of the solar map, unlocking more places to go, while also trying to complete as much stuff on the map as you can. As you do this, you also want to work on leveling up your gear. Now that's very simple to do. It levels up simply by using it. So go ahead, and gear goes from, depending on this, regardless of if it's a warframe or a weapon, it starts at rank 1, maxes out at rank 30. So just want to go ahead and all of your items, minus the Mark 1 items, and I'll talk about this a lot more in depth in part 2, but if you minus the Mark 1 items, they all increase your mastery rank, and your mastery rank is sort of your overall account level, and there's a whole bunch of things focused on that. So you want to make sure that whatever warframe you pick to start off with, you level that all the way up to mastery or to rank 30. You also, any weapons that don't have the Mark 1 identifier on them, you want to make sure you also level them up to rank 30. Even if you get a new weapon that is better than that, finish off that other weapon before you get rid of it. That's the next thing. Let's see, a few other small things that I would recommend. I would recommend going into the system settings, going into the controls, and rebinding the slide. So one of the big things about Warframe, why people like it, is the movement system. It has this really good flow to the combat. Underneath the hood, Warframe is really like an ARPG, a Diablo-style game. With the goods and bads of that. So part of the bads is that it starts out rather slow. You know, initially you don't have a whole lot of abilities, you don't have a whole lot of gear, you're not very powerful, so they can't throw too many enemies at you. And that, because of that, it starts off very slow. You're taking on rooms of 3, 5, maybe 10 guys. It takes you a little bit of time to kill them off. But there's a whole lot of power creep that comes in fairly quickly, where rather than going through a mission killing 50 guys, you're going through a mission killing 450 guys. And it just exponentially rolls, right? Well, the way this works under the hood, compared to a standard RPG, though, one of the big selling points, sorry, I get a little off track there. I was talking about the movement system, but so it's an ARPG at its heart with a fast-paced movement system of a third-person fighting game of some sort like that. So a big part of the movement, though, is the combination crouch jump, slide crouch jump. And I found it very difficult to do with the base default scheme, where basically you hold control to crouch, or you press C to toggle crouch, and then space is your jump. And it was very difficult for me to be holding control. The key to the movement is basically sprint, crouch, so you go into a slide, and then jump out of that slide, double jump while you're in the air, back into a crouch as you come back down and continue on. And this I found a lot easier when I put the toggle over to control. That way I could hit the shift key running, hit the control key in order to go into the slide and then into space. I didn't have to keep my pinky on the control while my thumb was on the space and the WXD. Your mileage may vary. I highly recommend changing that one over. That's the key button that I would change out. Let's see, moving on. What else do we have to worry about? Okay. Do not spend money on this game early on. I'm going to say at some point, hopefully you enjoy the game enough that you want to spend some money. That's absolutely something I think is viable. But a big mistake a lot of people early on is they'll buy $10 worth of currency, they'll jump in, and they'll look through the shop and they'll see the different Warframes. They'll pick up this one here for $4, that one there for $5. Comes with a few different weapons and stuff. And it's kind of a little bit of a waste along those lines. The Warframes, with a few exceptions, are all buyable or all farmable in-game. Actually, I misquoted that. All of the base model Warframes are farmable in-game. Most of them are very easy to farm. There's a few, I think of Ivara, mainly Ivara, that are a little more of a pain in the butt to farm. And there'll be a video where we will talk about that. But for right now, the only thing, if you're going to spend money on buying more weapon slots, more Warframe slots, maybe more Riven mod slots. Other than that, don't spend cash. We'll talk about that in an upcoming video. Just use the frame you got. We'll get into farming some of that stuff. Let's see here. Yeah, so work through the map. The next video coming up after this one, we're going to go very in-depth into the mastery. You have to understand mastery rank in order to basically unlock everything else. And then from there, we'll go into the mod card system, as that's how you really start to improve your characters. Hopefully you find this series useful. And until next time, though, this has been Paler. Thanks for watching.